Everybody is Steph from the Hot and Moving Podcast, and interesting times in Los Angeles, right? I mean, it seemed like the Lakers couldn't do anything right this offseason outside of the guaranteed re-signing of LeBron James, right? And then the feel-good story of bringing in Bronny James and, settling on bringing in J.J. Redick as the new head coach after firing Darvin Ham. Man, what a wild offseason, right? Started out obviously with the firing of Darvin Ham, then the head coaching search. J.J. Redick's name was floating around. Then Dan Hurley's name all of a sudden became the new guy, right? That's who they really wanted the whole time to try and pry away the two-time back-to-back national championship winning head coach, from UConn, man. That whole scenario, I'm still confused about that, right? Nonetheless, they tried to wine and dine him. They offered him $70 million. I mean, that's about what, over $10 million a year, right? For 6 years, and he says no, right? And now he ends up re-signing, of course, an extension, 6-year, $50 million to remain at UConn. He's taking less, so he's gonna take less money to stay in college as opposed to taking his talents to the pros, especially the Lakers, right? What does this mean for the Lakers, right? You know what I'm saying? Is it that bad? I don't want to coach LeBron James. I don't want to coach Bronny James, right? We know how much of a circus LA is, and you know what? I mean, look, slap in the face. This is slap in the face to the Lakers for Dan Hurley to take less money to stay at UConn. He is protected at UConn. He ain't going nowhere. That's essentially a lifetime job to be a back-to-back national championship, winning head coach at UConn, a very proud school with basketball tradition, right? They are a blue blood in basketball, right? They're up there with the Kansases, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Kentuckys. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're there, right? He's gonna stay, right? Man, Lakers just couldn't. They couldn't do anything right. It seemed like they couldn't do anything right this offseason, which is crazy, man. I mean, they couldn't get anybody. They haven't landed anybody in free agency. Okay, the only highlight is J.J. Redick drafting Don't Connect and drafting Bronny James. That's about it, right? And then you hear news of Dan Hurley signing to take less. It's just like, man, that's crazy, right? You would think that if a job like the Los Angeles Lakers became available, a historic franchise, a global recognizable brand, very hard for NBA teams, NBA franchise, very hard for sports franchises to have a global recognizable brand like the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Lakers, right? The Dallas Cowboys, that star on the helmet, right? That is a very recognizable brand. And if a spot becomes open to be a head coach and you say no, what does that say, man? I wonder what went down when Dan Hurley made his trip to Los Angeles and had discussions, right? What was the talks of player development? What was the talks of coaching LeBron James, right? What was the future? What was it going to look like, right, for him? And was he going to give enough time? Because that, look, coaches, their contracts don't mean anything in pro sports, right? These franchises will sign a coach for a lot of money. I mean, we saw recently Monty Williams, they will sign a coach for a lot of money. We saw it with Josh McDaniels, the coach of the Raiders. They will sign a contract for a lot of money, and then within a year or two, they are done. They are gone. Franchises will just eat the money up to get you out of there, and you're out of a job, right? And now you have to crawl back to college, or you're gonna have to hold that clipboard as an assistant coach for a while until another opening comes up in your name, and you're on a winning staff, right? And your name gets floated back out there, right? So I can understand the difficult proposition possibly for Dan Hurley leaving, right? Instead of staying at a sure job at UConn where you're the guy now, right? But it just speaks volumes that, look, doesn't matter if you're a historic franchise anymore. Pro sports, is not a guarantee to get your guy from college, right? It is very competitive to get a good coach to come to the pros, right? And you have to be very convincing. You know what I'm saying? How many times we've seen guys from college go to the NFL to coach? very difficult, right? Rocky, Matt Rule left Baylor to go to Carolina, couldn't last, right? I mean, we see many examples of this in pro sports, man. So crazy, man, that Dan Hurley took less, but it's crazy because of the team he rejected not to go to, right? And the Lakers, man, tough. It's been a tough week for the Lakers, man. And then you got Bronny James, and people chirping about that too as well, man. Right? Like it's a lot, man. And Dan Hurley seemed like he just didn't want to be in the middle of all of that, right? And then LeBron James, he's on a 1 year. He signs these 2-year contracts on a 1 year deal, So then you have to deal with LeBron James possibly coming back or retiring, right? It's just when you take a step back and you just look at all of it. Right, for a coach of Dan Hurley's stature, why would he throw himself in the mix like that, right? In Los Angeles, in that spotlight, that media spotlight, the LeBron spotlight, the Bronny James spotlight, right? It's just been absolutely wild for him to be there, and just a flip of lifestyle and a complete change, going from the Northeast and going all the way to Southern California and Hollywood to coach his team with all the drama that it could possibly come with, man. Crazy, man. Anyways, y'all let me know what y'all think about Dan Hurley taking his money and what to say about the Lakers, right? Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe. I'm out.